Most industrial factories start with raw individual components and assemble them into a finished product. A commercial slaughterhouse does the exact opposite, taking a 1,400-pound living animal and disassembling it. Within 35 minutes, a continuous overhead monorail system reduces a carcass into hundreds of boxed retail cuts. Across the United States, commercial facilities process over 30 million cattle and 125 million hogs annually. This massive enterprise fuels a $200 billion global meatpacking ecosystem. Modern processing plants operate at staggering velocity, moving up to 400 cattle per hour through a single line. Yet despite processing thousands of head daily, profit margins per animal are extraordinarily thin. Operators often earn just $15 to $30 in net profit per processed steer. To survive on micro margins, meat packers rely on hypervolume, extreme automation, and absolute carcass yield extraction. Today, four massive multinational conglomerates control over 85% of the entire American beef market. Understanding this industry requires examining the extreme subterranean engineering, federal oversight, and economic traps. Building a modern meatpacking facility is one of the most capital-intensive real estate bets in manufacturing. A single greenfield commercial slaughterhouse requires an initial investment of $120 to $150 million. The facility footprint spans over 300,000 square feet, situated on a minimum of 100 acres of rural industrial land. Site selection is heavily dictated by proximity to major cattle feedlots and access to massive water reserves. A high-capacity beef plant consumes up to 2 million gallons of potable water every single operating day. Water is used continuously for carcass washing, equipment sanitation, hide washing, and steam generation. Handling this liquid volume requires building private multi-stage biohazard wastewater treatment lagoons on site. These environmental water systems represent upwards of $15 million in initial civil engineering costs. Inside the plant, architectural design is strictly governed by severe sanitary hygiene zoning rules. The harvest floor, fabrication rooms, and packaged storage zones must remain completely isolated from one another. Positive air pressure differential systems blow air outward from clean rooms toward dirtier zones to prevent airborne bacterial drift. Refrigeration infrastructure represents another $25 million in specialized industrial equipment. Chilling halls must pull thousands of warm beef carcasses from body temperature down to 35 degrees within 24 hours. Anhydrous ammonia cooling systems run continuously, consuming massive amounts of grid electricity. Power backup generators are essential. 5 minutes of power loss in a hot, chilling hall ruins millions of dollars of inventory. The stainless steel overhead rail conveyor network extends for miles throughout the ceiling structure. Every trolley shackle must support up to 1,000 pounds, while moving smoothly through automated wash stations. All walls, floors, and drainage troughs are surfaced with antimicrobial epoxy coatings, designed to withstand daily acid washes. Once construction is complete, the operational assembly line in reverse begins its 24-hour cycle. Operations start at the lairage yards, where livestock trucks unload cattle into covered receiving pens. Federal law requires animals to rest, receive water, and undergo pre-mortem health inspection prior to entering the facility. Cattle move calmly through serpentine handling alleys, designed to reduce stress and prevent bruising. Animal welfare compliance is strictly monitored by overhead video cameras and federal inspectors. From the chute, animals enter the stunning box, where a trained operator renders them unconscious instantaneously. Pneumatic captive bolt stunners strike with high-pressure compressed air, causing immediate insensibility without chemical residues. The stunned animal is released onto a stainless steel reception table and hoisted by a hind leg onto the main rail line. Exsanguination occurs within seconds over a dedicated blood collection trough. Blood is pumped into refrigerated holding tanks for downstream pharmaceutical and agricultural processing. The carcass enters the hide removal hall, where skilled operators perform precise initial incision cuts. Automated mechanical hide pullers grip the pelt and apply up to 10,000 pounds of downward hydraulic tension. Peeling the hide smoothly without tearing underlying fat or muscle tissue is critical to preserving carcass value. Hides are immediately dropped down vertical chutes to subterranean salting cellars for leather processing. Next, the carcass enters the evisceration station, where internal organs are carefully removed. Viscera tables move in direct synchronization with the overhead rail to keep organs paired with their corresponding carcass. Livers, hearts, tongues, and tripe are separated, washed, and rapidly chilled for food distribution. Inedible viscera is directed to rendering chutes for tallow and meal conversion. Automated carcass band saws split the spine down the exact center, dividing the animal into two symmetrical sides of beef. Carcass sides undergo high-pressure steam vacuuming. to remove any microscopic bone dust or specks. They then pass through an organic acid wash cabinet, where hot lactic acid spray neutralizes surface bacteria. Temperatures inside the cabinet reach 180 degrees Fahrenheit to achieve maximum pathogen reduction. After washing, the sides of beef enter the hot scale station, where digital load cells weigh each half. Hot weight data is transmitted instantly to the plant database to calculate initial dressing yield percentages. Dressing yield averages 60 to 63% of the live steer's weight. The weighed carcass sides roll into the primary chill cooler, beginning a 24-hour cold stabilization phase. Air circulation fans blow high-velocity chilled air to rapidly drop deep muscle temperature. Rapid chilling prevents internal bacterial growth and firms up fat for precise cut fabrication. Humidity levels are carefully managed to prevent excessive carcass shrink caused by moisture evaporation. Every 1% of moisture lost during chilling represents thousands of dollars in lost saleable carcass weight. After 24 hours in the cooler, carcasses are ready for federal grading and fabrication. No commercial slaughterhouse in America can operate. For a single minute without federal inspectors physically present, the United States Department of Agriculture, Food Safety, and Inspection Service deploys full-time station agents to every facility. Inspectors have absolute legal authority to shut down the entire production line instantly if a violation occurs. A line shutdown costs the plant operator upwards of $10,000 per hour in idle labor and lost throughput. Federal oversight begins at ante-mortem inspection, checking animals for signs of neurological disease or injury. Any animal exhibiting fever, infection, or inability to walk is condemned immediately and removed from the human food chain. During slaughter, post-mortem inspectors examine head lymph nodes, tongue, heart, and viscera for signs of disease. If an organ shows abnormality, the inspector places a U.S. retained tag on the carcass for detailed lab testing. Retained carcasses are moved to a secure holding rail under lock and key until lab results return. In addition to health safety, USDA graders evaluate meat quality, assigning prime, choice, or select grade stamps. Grading is determined by marbling content, muscle color, and physiological maturity of the ribeye cross-section. Camera vision grading systems capture digital images of the 12th rib cut to calculate marbling scores automatically. The difference between prime and select grades can represent up to 50 cents per pound in wholesale carcass value. Beyond grading, plants operate under strict hazard analysis critical control point plans, known as HACCP. HACCP identifies specific points where biological, chemical, or physical hazards could contaminate meat. Critical control points include carcass wash temperatures, acid spray concentrations, and chill room humidity levels. Microbiological quality assurance labs test hundreds of carcass swab samples daily for E. coli O157:H7 and Salmonella. Polymerase chain reaction machines analyze bacterial DNA within hours to detect contamination before product shipping. If a swab tests positive for pathogenic bacteria, the entire production lot associated with that sample is impounded. Impounded meat must either be cooked in an approved rendering facility or destroyed completely. Sanitation procedures occur nightly. During a mandatory 4-hour total plant shutdown, sanitation crews scrub every square inch of equipment with alkaline detergents and hot water pressure washers. After scrubbing, sanitizers containing quaternary ammonium compounds are sprayed to eliminate biofilm formation. Quality assurance technicians perform ATP bioluminescence swab tests on equipment surfaces before morning startup. Only after passing pre-operational inspection can the plant restart its high-speed fabrication lines. Once chilled, carcass sides enter the fabrication hall, a climate-controlled room maintained strictly at 40 degrees. Hundreds of skilled trimmers work along moving conveyor belts, breaking sides down into primal cuts. The beef carcass is divided into 8 primary primal sections: chuck, rib, loin, round, flank, short plate, brisket, and shank. Primals move to specialized subprimal stations, where bone-in and boneless cuts are trimmed to retail specifications. In fabrication, yield extraction is measured down to fractions of an ounce on every single primal. Leaving even a quarter inch of valuable lean meat on a discarded bone represents massive cumulative financial loss. Across a plant processing 4,000 head per day, losing 1 ounce of lean meat per carcass equals 250 pounds daily. At $3 per pound, that minor trimming error bleeds $225,000 in annual profit. To maximize yield, plants utilize automated mechanical deboning machines and advanced vacuum bone trimmers. High-pressure water jet cutters slice meat portions with extreme surgical precision, guided by 3D optical cameras. Subprimal cuts are placed into barrier film, vacuum shrink bags, and pass through thermal shrink tunnels. Vacuum packaging removes oxygen, extending refrigerated shelf life from days to over 60 days for export. Packaged cuts are packed into heavy corrugated boxes, labeled with barcode tracking tags, and sent to automated storage. This boxed beef model revolutionized meat logistics by eliminating the shipping of heavy, unneeded bone weight. While boxed primals generate primary revenue, the slaughterhouse relies on co-products for total financial survival. Old industry wisdom states that meatpackers sell everything but the moo, and modern chemistry has taken this literally. Cattle hides are cured in brine tanks and sold to global tanneries for luxury, automotive, leather, and footwear. A high-quality steer hide yields $40 to $80, contributing millions in annual secondary revenue. Fat trimmings are rendered down into edible beef tallow, used in commercial frying, cosmetics, and biofuels. Bones and connective tissue are processed into gelatin for pharmaceuticals and gummy candy manufacturing. Inedible offal, blood, and bone meal are dried into high-protein animal feed supplements and organic fertilizers. Biomedical companies harvest bovine pituitary glands, lungs, and intestines to extract heparin and surgical collagen. Gallstones found in cattle, gallbladders are collected, dried, and exported to Asian markets for up to $20,000 per kilogram. Without relentless co-product monetization, the microscopic margin on primary beef cuts would leave plants insolvent. The core financial metric governing slaughterhouse profitability is the gross beef packing margin, known as the spread. The spread measures the exact dollar difference between purchasing a live steer and selling the resulting boxed beef and co-products. Live cattle purchases represent 75 to 80% of a meatpacker's total operating cash outlays. If live cattle prices rise due to herd shortages while retail beef prices remain flat, the operating spread collapses rapidly. Conversely, when cattle supply is abundant, packers buy cattle cheaply while selling boxed beef at premium wholesale rates. During supply chain disruptions, gross packing spreads have spiked to historical highs of over $500 per head. However, operating expenses consume a massive portion of gross earnings before net profit is realized. Labor is the largest internal plant cost, requiring over 2,000 workers for a major double-shift facility. Annual payroll, healthcare benefits, and workers' compensation insurance routinely exceed $50 million. Energy costs represent another major expense, with utility bills averaging $800,000 monthly. Water treatment, chemical sanitizers, and solid waste disposal add another $5 million in annual operating overhead. Depreciation on heavy plant machinery and cold storage infrastructure burns $10 million yearly. To maintain profitability, plant managers track key performance indicators continuously on real-time dashboards. Primary KPIs include head processed per line hour, hot dressing percentage, and boxed beef yield per hour worked. A drop of just 1% in daily plant capacity utilization pushes net earnings below break-even. Running double shifts 16 hours per day is essential to amortize fixed overhead costs over maximum cattle volume. Operating a high-velocity meat factory exposes owners to extreme operational, legal, and biological traps. The most catastrophic financial threat is a widespread pathogenic bacterial recall, if E. coli or salmonella contaminates ground beef trim batches. Millions of pounds of product must be recalled instantly. Direct recall expenses include product retrieval, incinerator destruction fees, customer refunds, and legal lawsuits. A single major recall can easily cost $50 million, wiping out an entire year's net operating income. Beyond product contamination, physical workplace safety is a constant operational challenge. Cold temperatures, slippery floors, high-speed bandsaws, and repetitive knife work create high injury rates. Meatpacking plants face rigorous oversight from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, known as OSHA. Ergonomic knife handles, cut-resistant chainmail aprons, and automated mechanical splitters are mandatory to reduce injuries. High worker turnover is another chronic issue, with annual turnover rates in fabrication halls exceeding 60%. Training replacement workers consumes millions in onboarding costs and temporarily depresses fabrication line speed. Environmental compliance represents a third major vulnerability. If an industrial wastewater lagoon leaks nitrates or ammonia into local groundwater, EPA fines can reach millions. Odorous gas emissions from rendering boilers require expensive multi-stage scrubbers and biofilters to satisfy local regulations. Failure to maintain air quality leads to municipal injunctions, forcing plant capacity reductions during thermal inversions. Yet despite these immense risks, the largest meatpacking conglomerates maintain formidable market dominance. The meatpacking sector is one of the most concentrated segments in American manufacturing. High entry barriers, including $100 million CAPEX, regulatory hurdles, and feedlot supply contracts, protect incumbents. Independent regional butcher shops cannot achieve the extreme economies of scale required to compete on boxed beef prices. Large packers leverage formula pricing contracts, purchasing cattle weeks in advance to guarantee plant utilization. Formula contracts tie cattle purchase prices directly to USDA wholesale boxed beef quotes, locking in operational spreads. This vertical coordination ensures mega plants operate near 100% capacity, regardless of market volatility. Automation continues to advance, with robotic cutting arms and AI vision systems replacing manual primal breakdown. Robotic automation reduces labor reliance, improves yield accuracy, and eliminates ergonomic injury liabilities. Future meatpacking facilities will feature near-total robotic disassembly, under human engineering supervision. Running a commercial slaughterhouse is ultimately a brutal game of volume, precision, and zero-tolerance risk management. Surviving on $30 per head requires disassembling thousands of cattle daily, with surgical efficiency. A single breach in sanitation, refrigeration, or yield extraction destroys annual profitability instantly. Yet for those who master the reverse assembly line, it remains one of the most lucrative monopolies in agriculture. The commercial slaughterhouse is not just a factory. It is the indispensable engine feeding modern civilization. Subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden industrial engines and economics shaping our world.